Good evening, my name is Robert Gadomski. I'm here with my colleague John Shear. This is the second episode of the new political talk show that saves the political jargon and campaign rhetoric, the Weekend Research Project. John, we are 2 days away, whoever thought we'd get here, from election 2012. Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney, something I feel started 12 hours on the Wednesday after Barack Obama was president-elect. Where do we stand, and how is this going to end on Wednesday night? What's going to happen Wednesday night?
Well, I think it's going to be fairly close, at least in terms of the popular vote. But I still would give Obama the electoral edge. I see the when you narrow it down, barring anything extraordinary, I see pretty much Obama holding the Midwest and Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, those areas. I don't really see Romney picking up anything there. Pennsylvania, people are saying that that's a battleground. I think at the end of the day, Obama's going to take that too.
How close do you think that will be?
I don't know. It's going to depend on the suburbs on the outside of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, where it was decided the last time. But I see this election mainly being in Ohio and Colorado. I think those are the two states that are going to matter the most. I think those are the two states that might keep us up on election day, because when you look at the big prizes that we would consider swing states, you have Ohio, Virginia, and Florida, and Colorado. Nevada most likely is going to go to Obama because of the demographics, a lot of Hispanics there, and it just appears that way. So I think what we're going to see is, but we have to keep in mind that even if Obama loses Ohio, Virginia, and Florida, he can still win it if he maintains New Mexico, which
He's probably going to Mexico.
New Mexico, Nevada, and Colorado. So I think that the election is going to really come down to Colorado and Ohio.
So even if Mitt Romney were to win Ohio, he could lose Colorado and lose the election?
Correct.
Okay, I put out my electoral guess after the jobs report came out on Friday. 171,000 jobs added below analysts. Well, the unemployment rate went up 7.9%. Market down 136. I think Romney's going to have 279 electoral votes. I think he's going to win Ohio. I think it may be as close as 50.4 to 49.6. Get your lawyers ready, recount type election. I think that's the way it'll be. I think I saw polls yesterday where even if it was 49 to 46, there's still that 5 or 6% undecided. And if a sitting president gets below 50% within a few days, I don't think that tends to bend well for the incumbent president. I think Romney will pick something off to win. I believe it's Colorado. I think he's going to win Colorado.
I think he win Colorado too.
I think Romney's going to win Colorado.
Yeah, I think Romney will win Colorado.
I think he made that speech yesterday.
Obama will win Ohio. That's one. And then,
so here's the difference in Ohio. I think Mitt Romney's going to win Ohio, Colorado. This might not end until Wednesday morning. This isn't going to be Bush v. Gore and end on December 30th.
It could extend much longer when you look at it. If it's really close, some of the laws that these states have on the books with regard to absentee ballots, it could take a week for them to actually view those absentee ballots. So it could stretch out for a fairly long amount of time. I think early voting favored Obama in Ohio. I think that gave him an advantage. He's been consistently.
What's that percentage?
I mean, it's going to be. I think it'll be close, but I still think he's been consistently
early voting.
Early voting? I haven't checked the recent total on that.
I think it's fairly close. I think.
But from what I've heard, the trends are.
I think the numbers the predictions were supposed to favor Obama higher than what the early voting numbers already are. So they're actually favoring Mitt Romney. I think if you were supposed to get a larger percentage of the early voting, so it's almost seen as a negative.
I haven't heard that.
I think we could be in a nightmare scenario, I see. If you think politics and politicians in Washington do not work down, you see how they work with one president getting 48% of the popular vote and winning the Electoral College by more than one state. You see politicians working together, and you see a Republican Congress working with President Obama if he doesn't win the popular vote. The same way Democrats did not work with George W. Bush pre-9/11 when he lost the popular vote. And I also think that we could be in the last days of the Electoral College, I hope, if that were to happen. And if you have two elections in 4 terms that popular vote president loses and the president is just the Electoral College, I think you have to change it. And I think we could be seeing something like that.
I agree.
Where Barack Obama were to win states like California, closer than '08, New York, closer than '08, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, closer than '08. It's even going to be a battleground state. And then Mitt Romney loses states like Ohio by 100,000, 162,000 votes. Maybe Nevada by 100,000 votes. And he could have a 3 to 5 million vote lead nationally and lose a popular vote. And I didn't like it in 2000. I apologize. I didn't like it in 2000. So I wasn't one that said, you know, it didn't matter and nah. But I won't like it this time either.
I think it will renew the debate, but ultimately, in order for it to anything to come of it, you need to have 38 state legislatures agreeing, and I don't see 38 state legislatures agreeing to anything. But what I think you might see states actually reforming it at the local level. For example, Nebraska splits the electoral vote. Maine does the same thing.
Maine also, Mitt Romney is buying airtime in Maine the final week of Election Day based on that factor, that it could be one or two. It could be 271.
You might see more states. So you might see more states
And I
like
think
that.
they should.
I mean and that's interesting. And I think the nightmare scenario really is that it's an electoral tie, and you know.
And it's President Mitt Romney and Vice President Joe Biden, and we've heard of all these, and you can go on websites like Politico, or Rachel Maddow said something about this, where it's a complete cluster bomb.
What do you think happens if Obama wins the popular vote, but loses the electoral vote?
Then I will be the first one in line still to say, reform the system.
But do you think Republicans will give him, will
I think
give in to the will of the people, or do you think that they'll put
What do you mean with
politics in?
Republicans?
That if Obama wins the popular vote,
Will they work with him in Congress?
well, I'm saying if he wins the popular vote, but he ties for the electoral vote. I'm sorry, I said lost before. If he
What do
ties
you
for
mean
the
with Republicans? Will Mitt Romney concede when he shouldn't?
well, I'm saying then it goes to Congress, it goes to the House of Representatives.
And it's one vote for each state, I believe.
But do you think that Republicans will respect the will of the people having Obama elected with the popular vote?
Well, it's not that. Our system is not set up where if the Electoral College is a tie, which it's never been, that, you know, the popular vote is a tiebreaker. Like, you know, you win your division, so it's your divisional record tiebreaker. It's not set up like that. And for someone who's been running for president for, let's be honest, 5 years, since 2007, you know, I don't know if Mitt Romney would concede the election. It will go towards the states. And I believe one in Congress gets each vote. And a Romney-Joe Biden presidency would be one of the most comical things of all time.
Yeah.
I think it would be hilarious. We would definitely have some type of show every day to debate about that. We would have our best quotes of the week. But it's not exactly the will of the people, because the popular vote, as a New Yorker and a Republican, why should I go out and vote for something that's not local when if I could be doing something else, my vote doesn't really matter. Your vote doesn't count. 270 counties across this country, places in Colorado, Florida, Virginia, Iowa, those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that are getting carpet bombed right now with ads and literature and people knocking on doors. Those are the counties that matter. So I refuse to say for a second that the will of the people is being followed unless you have 100% voter turnout.
Okay, but you don't think though that the Republican Party,
Are we going to concede?
Obama winning?
If Obama wins the popular vote and it's tied, I don't think it's going to be we're going to concede. You won the popular vote.
You think they'll concede?
No, I don't think they're going to concede. I think that the very idea is ludicrous. I think there's a lot up in this election. I think as much as you want to say that Mitt Romney is a moderate Republican, and as I like to say that tax-wise, economically, Barack Obama has governed as a moderate Republican. I feel the second term would be a more liberal agenda, and social issues that I really don't care about and aren't of interest to me. That aside, I'm more talking taxes and whatnot.
But I guess that maybe that can lead into our next discussion when it comes to who we think is best inclined to work with to bridge the gridlock in Congress. I mean, we've said it time and time again. Romney has governed as a moderate. You know, he's governed as a moderate, but he's changed his positions multiple times. With wherever the political winds go, I like to call him personally windsock candidate.
Okay.
But where is he going to go in Congress when he has 61 members of the Tea Party caucus? there's a big chunk in Congress, and
A third to a quarter.
yeah, and four in the Senate. The Senate is different because there'll probably be a Democratic majority.
Will be.
But do you think Mitt Romney is going to work with the Tea Party, and is he going to be giving in to them? Because
Well,
these social issues, I know many Republicans, moderate Republicans like you and Dennis, say you don't agree with the party on those issues. You don't think that they're
not a big deal. I'm not losing sleep over homosexual marriage. I'm
But the
losing
problem
sleep
is-
over the 7.9% unemployment rate.
But
And
the
the
problem
market
is-
being down to 140.
But the problem is to get elected in your party, to get into, to win the primaries, you have to hold those positions. So I'm wondering, does the Republican Party, if they lose this election, are they going to have to do some real soul searching and figure out, if maybe their base isn't worth it anymore?
Well, you have to understand that Tea Party candidates lost a lot of primaries across the country to people far to the right. Certain ones in Missouri, all across the country, Tea Party candidates were rejected. And I think Mitt Romney will be the best candidate to work across the aisle. You say across the aisle, the Republican is going to be in the hands of the Senate is going to be in the hands of the Democrats. Elizabeth Warren's going to win. Democrats are going to win Colorado. Republicans are going to win Indiana. Democrats are going to win Wisconsin. Too close to call. Republicans are going to win Missouri. High voter turnout for Mitt Romney, Missouri, which is clearly not even going to be too close to call. I think Mitt Romney is the best to work across the aisle. Mitt Romney, used to call him a moderate Republican, and Republicans didn't like this during the primaries, but it's a Democratic state with 87% Democrats in the state, in the Massachusetts state legislature. So he did. Healthcare was not a Republican idea when he brought it forth, as you guys like to call it, Romney Care. It was the Democratic legislature and whatnot, and other fees and certain taxes were raised.
But he adopted it. I mean, it was his baby, and it was his proudest achievement until he ran for president.
It was, but it was done with the Democratic legislature,
But what I'm
and
saying,
they did work together on it.
but what I'm saying is, he was when he was in Massachusetts and he was governor, he had to deal with them because they were the Democratic majority.
Because they were there.
Now, if he's elected president,
People will be dealing with a Democratic Senate.
but he'll have a Republican House and with 61 people, with 61 Tea Party people. Do you think he's going to adopt some of the elements of the Tea Party?
I think it will be more John Boehner establishment Republican running the show and controlling them and put the children in the side and you do what John Boehner says. And if the economy goes up, if you were to win, and you have a high turnout for Republicans in 2014, which Democrats have more Senate seats up, I think the party goes more to the right in 2014. Now, this is the end of this segment. I think Mitt Romney is going to win with 279 electoral votes. He believes Barack Obama is going to win. Our
By the
next
way,
segment.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but by the way, my total is 281 to 257. Sorry, I just
That's
want to put
okay.
that in there.
Our next segment, we will talk about some of the final issues of this campaign, including climate change. That hasn't really been spoken out about. We'll be right back.